Hello, everybody. It's Christina Quick. Happy Monday. Hope that you are doing well. Welcome to the Summer of Magic 2022. I'm just going to go ahead and get myself set up here. So if you would just give me a minute, and then usually Facebook takes a few moments to let you know that I am live. Okay, it looks like that I am in the right space. I'm going to go ahead and pin this live stream up to the top of the group. Because it's just easier for you guys to find me. Okay, it looks like some people are starting to come in now. If you are here, hey, let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're watching. Hey, Marissa, good to see you. Happy Monday. And hey, if you could let me know, does my audio and video look and sound okay? Okay, let's see. Get this pinned here. And if you could, let me know where you are listening from. Let me know if this is your first Summer of Magic that you've been to. Great, thank you. Hi, Kirsten. Good to see you. Tina. All right. The crew is all here, it looks like. Wow, we've already got 10 people coming in. Thank you for joining me. Desiree. Some of my favorite people are here this morning. Thank you so much. It's good to see you guys. How was your weekend? Kelly, haven't seen you in a minute. How have you been, Kelly? Great. Thanks, Kirsten. Thank you. So this last weekend, Sioux City, Iowa. Okay, so we have people all around. I'm based out of Missouri. I live about 20 minutes south of Kansas City. So I'm kind of right smack dab in the middle. And I'm actually originally from Arizona. I was born and raised in Lake Havasu, a little oasis town, Lake Havasu tourist town. You probably heard about it from spring break or that really infamously bad/good Piranha movie with, oh gosh, what was his name? Was it Jerry O'Connell? I can't remember. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. This look is brought to you by working less and stressing less and doing less. Oh, Mary. Hi, Mary. Good to see you. I know Lake Havasu. Yeah. So I was born and raised there. And then I met my husband when I was 19, and we decided we needed to see the world, and I wanted to go see the world. And Lake Havasu was only maybe like back when I was a teenager, maybe 60,000 people. So not a lot of people, right? Very small town in the middle of nowhere, like 2 hours south of Vegas, right? And so there wasn't much to do. So witchcraft was something that I definitely got into. Hi, Trish. Glad you found us. Glad you found us. Okay. So this last weekend, actually, so one of our presenters, Susie Zern, or she's known as Madam Z, she was actually a client of mine, a student of mine for a long time. And then she recently moved up here from Texas. She moved up to about an hour north of me. And so this last weekend, we got to get together and we got to go check out the Kansas City Metaphysical Fair. And we went to that on Saturday. And that was a lot of fun. Actually, I got this really, really cute little antique Melusine soap holder. And it's so funny. The story about that is so funny because it ties in today, and we'll talk about that. But that's what we did over the weekend. And we got to see each other, hang out for a long time, and talk about business and personal life and stuff. And it was really cool. So maybe if we're thinking, possibly I'll be more involved in the local community. So if you are in the central area, there might be some opportunities coming up. Oh, Susie's here. She's here. Okay. All right. So we are here for the Summer of Magic. How many of you have been to the Summer of Magic before? Who is here for the very first time? My name is Christina Quick. I am your hostess for the Summer of Magic. This is the 6th year that we have been doing this event. What is a Summer of Magic? It is a week-long event where we get together, my students who are in my mentorship program for business, for entrepreneurs who are like professional psychics, tarot readers, that sort of thing, learning how to market themselves as spiritual life coaches, wanting to get more into the teaching arena and, getting out of readings and getting more into creating like passive income and stuff. So that's where I'm from. That's what I run. That's what I do. And so I run the Summer of Magic and the Solstice Spirit 2 times a year. They are week-long summits where we all get together and we all teach and we celebrate the new graduates who are graduating the mentorship program. And so that's what this is really all about. And all of our alum that have been with me for almost a decade now, learning business with me and being with me on a peer-to-peer level in the psychic industry, we all get together and we basically teach classes and we bring community online. And it's so important that we do this because, you know, when you're working from home and you're in this kind of industry that's sort of like still sort of secretive, right? It can get really lonely. And so we are all about showing up, being of service in our community, being giving value to our community, giving back to our community. And that's what these events are all about. That's what the Summer of Magic is all about. It's all about making new friends, learning some new things, getting some freebies, getting some gifts, but mostly it's just about getting together, having fun, and meeting new people. Hi, Sonia. Oh, yes, yes. So many of you, Jem, so many of you have actually been here for all of them, and many of you here are actually past presenters. And so, if by the end of this week, if you're still hungry for more content, all you have to do is look into our guide section and you will see some of our past years trainings. So if you get through all of these this week and you're like, hey, this is really cool, I want to learn more, we've done other themes like one year we did ancestors, angels, and extended masters. One year we did herbal magic. One year we did animal magic. Okay, so there's a lot of different themes and a lot of really cool things out there. This year is our theme is magic around the world, and we're going to have 6 total presentations. We have 1 per day, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday we have 2. So you get a 2 for bonus workshops on Fridays, and then you will have the whole rest of the month to watch the replays at your leisure. And then some of the presenters may be taking their videos down and putting them up for sale as a passive income product. So I recommend that at least this week's live videos that you go through all of them by the end of the month to make sure that you don't miss anything. Also, each presenter is going to have a free gift for you. This could be a meditation, this could be a workbook, this could be a video course, this could be a discount off of their services or like a free coaching call with them. So there's a lot of free gifts out there that are going to be going out this week. So make sure at the very least, if you can't watch all of the live streams right away, make sure that you at least get your free gifts, right? Because that will be for a limited time thing. Okay, so Renee, good to see you. Victoria, good to see you. Virginia, good to see you. Okay, so what is everybody's experience with conjuration or conjuring spirits? Is anybody here a master conjurer? Is anybody here kind of working with conjuration in their own practice? Maybe not exactly conjuring spirits, but working with spirits in a different way. How many of you here are mediums? How many of you identify as a medium? So I identify as a medium, and actually it took me a very long time to identify as a medium. There was so much stuff, like energetic blocks that I had around calling myself a medium or accepting that I had mediumship abilities. I always to hear spirits. That was my biggest psychic skill that I've always had was clairaudience. So I would hear voices, and it's one of those things where it's like you don't really want to tell anybody that because there's such a stigma behind hearing voices. I'm an extra large. You're so funny. She's an extra large medium. Okay. Extra large spirit communicator. That's so funny. Um, so I always heard spirits, and for a long time, I actually shut that off because it was very, very scary. And it wasn't until I started joining more mediumship circles, and now I've even run mediumship circles, and soon later this year we're going to be coming out with the psychic circle, which is going to be a membership based program where you're going to get like weekly lessons on different psychic things or different mediumship techniques and things like that. So look for that around Halloween, October-ish. I'll probably be launching that in September. If you want more information about that, you can join my main group. All of that information is going to be in the description box. It's also at www.theprofitablepsychic.com, and you will see all my links to, go through all of those things. Medium and pro conjurer. Yay, Psychic Circle is back. Yeah. Hi, Rebecca. Good to see you. Okay. So conjure is, let's talk about, what is conjure. And conjure has this kind of stigma attached to it. And by the way, when I say conjure, I don't necessarily mean conjure as in hoodoo. There's a lot of different meanings for conjure in the magical community. But I want to clarify that I'm talking about conjure as more of this overall kind of umbrella concept of that things have souls, or that things can contain spirits, or things can become vessels for specific spirits or energies, right? In order for manifestation to occur. And so there's a bunch of different types of conjure. Conjure is the short form of conjuration. Conjure is kind of, it's in all traditions. It's in hoodoo, it's in Appalachian folk magic, it's definitely in some of like the more northern kind of traditions. It's called animism in that, and we'll talk about that a little bit too, how it's kind of a very similar, same situation. But there's conjure in all types of different traditions. And what it is really is this idea that we can conjure, we can bring forth, we can summon, we can petition spirits to aid or to help us, and also to seek some sort of justice, like divine retribution, right? Divine intercession. That is what conjure is really about. It's about creating a network of an alliance of spiritual high vibrational beings that can help us in our life, whether it's to manifest wealth, like what today's is going to be mostly about, or if it's to manifest true love, or to manifest a home. It's really just to manifest anything, a loving relationship, to manifest friends, anything that you want to manifest, right? And so in the Western traditions, we kind of view conjure as a sort of animism. How many of you are familiar with the term animism or an animistic worldview? You're going to find that this week that we are going to have we have Marissa and Kirsten, and they are shamanic practitioners, and they're going to be talking about working with spirits from an animistic point of view. Okay. It's also more closely linked with like indigenous traditions, Native American spirituality, okay, all over the world, prehistoric spirituality. And by prehistoric, I mean pre-written history. Okay. So animism is the concept. Animism is not a religion. It's more of a worldview. It's more of the worldview that things that matter, matter as in physical reality, contains the ability to contain a soul, or to contain some sort of spiritual intelligence. New term for you. Okay, very good. So animism is the belief that a tree has a soul, a blade of grass has a soul, but also a pen has a soul, a tarot deck has a soul, okay? It has an intelligence behind it. And because it has an intelligence, it must mean that in some way, shape, or form, that it is concerned with the human world in some way. Because whether we like it or not, we are beings on this earth that we influence the earth, and we, for better or for worse, worse would be like things like deforestation, encroachment, taking over wildlife preserves, or not having clean water. These are kind of like the things in which we interact with the world, and we can actually cause help or harm to the natural world. And that's what the natural world is. It's an animistic world. Animistic as in anima, animal, right? My practice is deeply rooted in animism. Yes, absolutely. Many of ours are. And it's interesting that we just don't know that. But we are familiar with the idea of conjuration. And it's very one and the same. It's this idea that things have souls, or they can have souls that inhabit them, or that things are vessels for spiritual energy, right? And so therefore, if we can help or harm uh, everything that might have a soul, as if anything that we do interacts with this animistic world, then certainly the reverse must also be true, as above so below. So if we can help or harm, then surely that they can help or harm us, right? So conjure is the magical practice of one, believing in a worldview that everything has a soul, an animistic world, right? Worldview. That everything is alive, that everything has its own level of intelligence, and that therefore it can be petitioned, it can be summoned, or it can be conjured. Another version, it can also be worshipped. Okay. So that in a nutshell is what conjure is. And it's the idea, why do we do conjure? We do conjure in order to help aid us, whether again, to seek favors, to create wealth, or even to seek out justice, or even to take retribution against people who would do us harm. Okay. Forming an alliance, forming a cooperative relationship with the world. All right. So that is what conjure is in a nutshell. The different types of conjure, I'm going to talk about three main different types of conjure. The first type of conjure that you are going to be familiar with is idolatry. All right. It's a very ancient visualization form of conjure. The idea of statues or paintings, or, when I think of conjure as far as that, I think of like Egyptian hieroglyphs, or I think of Greek god and goddess statues, or, just different, or the Waldorf statue, the goddess Waldorf statue. And that's why idolatry is so frowned upon in the Old and New Testament religions, because it's powerful. Idolatry is extremely powerful. And why it's so powerful is because everything that exists on a spiritual level exists on an astral realm, an astral plane. And actually, there are many different astral planes. There are many different dimensions, planes of existence that make up where we are right now. We are located in the third reality, the 3D reality, the physical reality made of space and time, right? So how we do anything is by understanding our space, and where we are in that space is, and what time we are, and the distance it takes to achieve something. So if I'm thinking about that in a very rational way, I'm thinking I want to manifest $10,000. Okay. So how do we manifest in the 3D? We think, okay, space and time. Okay, how am I going to do this? I want to do this in the next 6 months. So that means that I need to make a little over $1,500 a month to average that out. And so how to do that is I'm going to create these certain things, these certain events at this specific time. And this linear manifestation timeline I have. Okay. That's 3D manifesting. 5D manifesting and up really is, it doesn't take space and time. And that's why it's so abstract to really think about. So I want us to do an exercise really, really quickly, just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. As you are sitting in your room, I want you to kind of take a moment to just look around at your surroundings. Just look at everything that's in front of you. Just get a visual idea. Now, if you wanted to reach for something, you would have to reach forward in your physical reality. It takes time to reach that space. Now, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And in your mind's eye, in your psychic eye, in your psychic eyes, I want you to reimagine this room in front of you. Reimagine what it is that you just took in. And what you are doing right now is you are creating on the astral plane. The astral plane is just as easy as imagining, right? A thought form is what we call a thought form of reality. Okay. Mediums use thought forms all the time. So as you're sitting here, I want you to think about the little things that you saw in your room. And now I want you to start populating them in front of you to where you can visually see them. Just practice this. You may not be very good at it at first, but this is a clairvoyance exercise. Okay. And this is a really great way to work your clairvoyant muscles, is to practice this. Whenever you go to new places, sit down, take a couple minutes to look at your surroundings. Like if you're waiting in line for something, close your eyes and then reconstruct the reality in your mind's eye. It is that simple to reach the astral plane. That's it. That's the astral plane. And so in the astral plane, things are instantaneous, right? And so when we're working with spirits, in order to manifest, we manifest faster, in a less complicated way, in a more organic, intuitive way, right? All right. Everybody with me? Okay, so you can open your eyes if you haven't done that already. Welcome back. Okay, so it's just as simple as that. That in a nutshell is the basics of how you do a shamanic journey, which we're more people are going to be talking about that this week. So if that was really interesting for you, then I encourage you to attend some of these other workshops that we have, because there will be more experiences like that. Now, the idea of spirits, working with spirits. So spirits do exist on a astral plane, right? They don't exist here and now. Their time here is done. Their body has transitioned, right? They're going to the next place, the next dimension. So surely we could conjure ancestors. Surely we could conjure people that have been carnate beings here, right? But also there are other different types of spirits that we can conjure. And this is what you might be more familiar with. So we have different types of spirits. We have collective spirits and we have personal spirits. And so personal spirits are a little bit more of an advanced topic. We'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end. But collective spirits are something many of you are very, very familiar with. So if you're feeling smart and brave, I want you to type into the comment section, what is an example of a collective spirit that people work with all the time to manifest things that they might not think that they're conjuring spirits when they're working with that thing? What are some ideas? While you guys are typing, I'm going to take some tea. Who's feeling smart and brave? What about angels? Jesus. Yes. Jesus. Angels. Gods and goddesses, right? Animal totems. Some more mainstream types of collective spirits that we work with. Yeah. Now, you might not think that you're conjuring spirits when a Buddha, that's a great one. That's a great one. How many of you have a Buddha around the house? Holiday spirits such as Santa, Easter Bunny. Yes, Kara. Yeah. What does Santa bring? Presents, right? Easter Bunny brings presents and eggs and fertility. So chances are, whether you identify as a magical person or a non-magical person, chances are that you are conjuring spirits and you just don't even know it. Right? Now, personal spirits. A tribe of Buddhas around here. Mm-hmm. 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 Personal spirits. What's an example of a personal spirit? Tooth fairy, boogeyman. Yes. You guys are so smart. Yeah. Well, personal guides might be your spirit guides, right? Your fairy godmother, a deceased family member, an ancestor. Your spirit guides, right? And so when you're working with those spirits, when you're working with these spirit beings, it's interesting because how often do you work with them on both a physical and a spiritual plane? Most of us work on a spiritual plane almost exclusively, right? Where we're using our psychic abilities to interpret messages, things. Divination, using oracle cards or tarot cards would be a great way to start working with them more on a physical level. Some other things that you can do is create altars or create sacred spaces, because it's this idea that we're going to be using things as a vessel. Avatars, yes. And yes, avatars, absolutely. That an avatar, if we're thinking about the same type of avatar, which I think we might be, avatars are a very honor. It's like that is such an honor to be an avatar for a spirit. Collective spirit could be like Kali, Shiva, or Ganesha. Yes. And personal spirit are like my spirit guides. Right. Uchenna, you got it. Yes, you got it. Animal totems, right? Some of you might work with wolf or jaguar or bear, right? Or some of you, like me, also might work with unicorns or fairies or dragons, right? All of these different kinds of spirit beings. Collective Republican Democrat. Right. Really. I mean, it is true. It is absolutely true. It is very true. Your husband works with the bear. Very interesting. Lion is also another really big one. People really love lion. So when you're working with spirits, whether personal or collective, there are different ways that you can work with them, and each are going to have a little bit of a different result. Yes, dark goddess. Yes. And getting into any type of archetype, right? Any type of archetype is also a spirit, right? Because even archetypes such as, say, Statue of Liberty, right? It's an archetype of what? Freedom, liberty, diversity. So spirits don't have to be anthropomorphic. They can be inanimate objects as well. Scales, about balance, fairness, and justice, right? The zodiac signs are, and the planets are other versions of collective spirits you can work with. So conjure is really working with the spirit energy of an archetype, is at the most basic of what it is. And we do that by creating thought forms, right? So thought form is that basically that exercise I took you through where you looked at your room and then you closed your eyes and you reconstructed it, right? That's a thought form. It's a form of thought. Okay. So the three main types of ways that you can work with spirits that I'm going to be talking about is one, first and foremost, worship. Worship is probably what most people are familiar with, right? This comes with like religion or just paying honor to something. Santa Muerte is a really good example of worshiping, because she is like the archetype of the underdog of justice, right? So there's other ways that you can do worship as well. For example, a statue of Jesus would be, having a statue of Jesus would be a form of worship. Building an altar where you create a sacred space to honor, thank, give gratitude to, recognize, right? So that is probably the most primal version of spirit conjure that we have in our history as human beings, right? And then there's also things like making pacts or creating oaths, right? And this is more of an advanced thing where you're kind of dedicating yourself to that spirit. You're becoming a servant of that spirit for that spirit to work its will through you. Not quite possession. We'll talk about possession and avatars a little bit later. But this is more like taking on that spirit as like a personal emblem, right? And becoming a servant to it, creating what you feel is the best way to kind of express and live up to whatever ideals that that spirit contains. Okay. Let's see. What's a good example of something like that? Hmm. Well, how about any type of spirit that's related to social justice? Okay. So, social justice, there's many different spirits that are related to that. And so you may pick one, and one of the best ways to become a servant, to make a pact with that spirit, is in the idea that they're going to be aiding you and creating ways and creating opportunities for you to do this work. So, for example, a good way to make a pact with any type of spirit related to social justice might be to go to protests or to donate money to different types of charities that relate to that specific movement that you are investing your time and energy in, allowing the spirit of that, archetype to work its magic through you, with the idea that ways will be open, doors will be opened, opportunities will be coming in. The next way that you can work with spirits is also through bindings. Bindings are typically done on a generational viewpoint. So, a spirit, this is mostly done like with animal totems, right? Or we see this a lot in ancient prehistory, like certain trees being assigned to certain clans or certain tribes, or certain animals being assigned to certain tribes, right? And so bindings may, it's kind of like taking a pact, but making it like, okay, this is kind of like a forever thing, right? And binding your family, or really it's your karma, binding your karma to the spirit, and with the ideas that you will receive protection. So thinking about something like that would be a family crest, right? A family crest that has been handed down to you. Or if you identify as Indigenous, it could be some sort of spirit helper or spirit ally that is part of your cultural narrative. Like some Indigenous peoples identify with rattlesnake as their protector. Some identify as deer or moose or bear, or some identify with even the constellations in the sky as their binded protectors. Land spirits, absolutely. I've never considered zodiac signs as having a spirit. I find that interesting. I could see Aquarius or Libra leaning into social justice. Absolutely, right? Yeah, land spirits is a really, really, really good one, Mary. Social justice in Yoruba spirituality is called Isu, and it's called Alusi. Very, very, very interesting. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And one of the best ways, honestly, to start working with spirits in a safe way is to get one of those ancestry tests done and see where you come from, because your blood lineage, you're going to naturally have binded spirits to you, that you may not even be aware of, that you have these protective spirits that have been trying to get in touch with you probably your whole life. In Hawaii, we consider them to be Muoku. Very interesting. I love that. See, everybody should be speaking about this online. Everybody should be talking about this and talking about these different ways in which we're all connected. Hi, Jared. Good to see you. My mother's family name means otter stream. That's so precious. I love that so much. Yeah. So those are the three main ways: worship, pacts, and bindings. So one of the best ways, I think, personally, is to set up an altar or a vessel of some sort. Now, the story about this cute little vintage soap holder that I'm going to turn into an incense candle holder. Okay, so I have been searching for a spirit that I really want to dedicate myself to. Like, I feel like I'm really ready to do that, right? I've been on my spiritual journey for probably 20 years now, maybe longer, 25 years maybe. And all through these years, I have worked with spirits, angels, ascended masters, saints, um, fairies. I actually have some classes on YouTube. If you're interested in working with Saint Expedite to hurry things along, I have a class on YouTube about that. If you're interested in working with the fairy realm, I have a class on YouTube about that as well. I think I have a 2-part series on that. How to work with fairies to manifest wealth, right? So, and those are some of the, I'm going to talk about some of the ways that I personally like work with spirits in my own life and what spirits I kind of work with. Is a personal and family god that originated as a deified ancestor. Sharks, owls, birds, inanimate objects. I love that. I love that so much. That's beautiful. So I was at the psychic fair with Susie this last weekend, this last Saturday, and I so you may not know, also, I have workshops on how to work with serpent energy, by the way. And so I work with serpent energy. I actually have 2 serpents, 2 snakes, and they are a really big part of my manifestation practice right now. I have been involved with them for about 3 years now. And it's been a fantastic addition to my life and a fantastic addition to my manifestation magical practice, because with them I work with their sheds, I work with their teeth, there's many ways to work with them. And so the first time I remember, I was thinking back to some of the very first original times that a spirit has come to me. So how do you know a spirit wants to come to you? Um, Usually you will either see signs that a spirit wants to come to you, like seeing the same spirit or the same name over and over and over and over again for a long extended period of time. How they tend to come to me, though, is in my dreams. A lot of my psychic phenomenon, I guess, really partakes in my dreams. And so I would say about 6 years ago, I started dreaming about snakes. I started dreaming that I was getting bitten by snakes, and I started dreaming that I was holding snakes and that they were squeezing me. And it was like the kind of like this terrifying thing. So I was like, okay, there's something here. And I've never had a fear of snakes before in my life. Just all of a sudden just popped up, and I started having this bizarre obsession with snakes. I could not stop thinking about snakes. I watched all the YouTube videos about snakes. I started following herpetology programs. I started going in person to the zoos to go visit the snakes and just go spend time at the zoo with snakes. I started going to like reptile terrarium experiences, places kind of like that, just to go spend time with snakes. I needed to be in snake energy. Until finally, I ended up getting my own serpents. And I was thinking back to one of the very first clairvoyant experiences I had with a spiritual being that was connecting with me. Now, like I said, I had worked with angels, I've worked with saints, ascended masters. I would not say any of those have ever come to me in a dream. I have had an angel experience before when I got into a car accident. The long short of that was I got into a really bad car accident. This lady T-boned me in my car. This is my car, went like that. And I remember just this lady that was kind of glowing. She came, and this was in the middle of nowhere in the desert at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So nobody was around, just me and this lady, and we got into this accident. And in the middle of the desert, this glowing person came up to my window, said, "Are you okay? I'm calling 911." And I said, "Yes, I'm okay." And by the time I looked up, she was gone. She was nowhere to be seen. And this other person that got into a car accident didn't see her, didn't, and ambulance came. So I had that experience. I've learned so much from serpent energy from Christina Quick. Thank you so much, Kirsten. Jared says, I had a dismemberment journey recently where after being ripped apart and consumed by my spirit guides, my snake guide crawled into my rib cage and decided to live there. Crazy serpent energy in that one. Very, very cool. Very neat. And you might also be familiar too. A lot of you have probably heard the word Kundalini. So Kundalini and serpent energy is very, very, very similar. And so anyways, I was thinking back to the first experience where I had a clairvoyant experience where a being actually came to me in a dream. So I was dreaming that I was walking in this field, and it wasn't like a beautiful field. It wasn't like the Sound of Music type of field. It was like a tar pit field. It was like, I could only describe it as like maybe what, the dinosaur age kind of looked like, when there's huge tar pits all around and stuff like that. And in my dream, I was walking through this tar pit. And as I was walking through the tar pit, I was getting covered in this tar, and it was making me heavier and heavier and heavier. And as I was walking, it was kind of like what do they call it? Quicksand, sand vortex type of thing, but like a tar pit. And as I was walking, I was getting heavier and heavier covered by this tar until I was completely covered in this tar. And I sunk into this tar pit. And I remember kind of like floating down into this tar pit, and it changed from tar to kind of like this black, murky kind of water. And I saw this kind of like serpent being sort of swimming around me. And so I've been practicing lucid dreaming for a long time. So I said, who are you? Who are you? What do you want? Who are you? And this beautiful, not really beautiful, but like beautiful as in terrifying, um, spirit being that I can only now tell you looks like a Melusine or a Melusina, which is this two-tailed serpent goddess fairy creature, that it was actually, her teeth were long and gnarled, and she was ugly but beautiful, and her tails were made of snake. It was like a snake eel type of fish type thing. And she didn't say anything to me. She just swam around me, and I woke up. And so this serpent energy has actually been following me for a very, very long time. And it was such a primal experience. Like, I say Melusine, but honestly, it's so much older than that, if that makes any sense. And so anyways, we were at the psychic fair, and we came upon this booth, and it was just the cutest booth. I think it was like a haunted person's like old stuff. Like, I think this guy goes around to like estate sales and buys like things that he think are haunted or like spiritual, and it was like this trunk, treasure trove of knickknacks and things that, every single thing on those tables had a story, had a haunted story, right? And so I'm looking at this soap, and I'm just the soap dish over here, and I'm just eyeballing it, and it's kind of looking at me, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't know, do I need this? It's kind of calling to me. My husband comes, or I'm looking at something else. My husband comes around. He's like, hey, have you seen that soap dish over there? That's like, you should totally get that. I'm like, yeah, I was looking at it, but he's also my soulmate twin flame. So we, how much of that is he empathing off of like my expectation that I want it, right? And so then he goes off and he's doing something. And then Susie walks by, and she's like, oh my gosh, you have to have that. And I'm like, okay, third time's the charm, right? So I'm like, okay, I have to get this. And so this is one of the it's just interesting that this all happened. So the Saturday before I'm teaching this class, that's the interesting part, right? And so this is going to become my newest little vessel that I'm going to add to my altar. And what I plan to do is to fill this with sand, and I'm going to create a special incense. And so that's how simple building an altar can be, is finding a piece that means something. If you want to find something really nice that's really personalized, ask your guides to ask the spirit to reveal what they want you to utilize for their vessel to you. And then go antiquing, go out into the world, and it will it will reveal itself to you. It's crazy how this happens. You can also use things like jars. Jars are one of the oldest forms of vessel magic, of containing spirits. Okay. So you can fill this with herbs, you can fill it with rocks, you can fill it with personal effects, you can fill it with a picture of your spirit that you want to work with, right? You can fill it with sigils, you can fill it with anything, and it becomes the container, the vessel, the sacred space. And the idea, the etiquette behind it is that, first we worship. Right? We don't ask for favors, first of all. Favors and gifts are a byproduct of worship, right? Of favor. It's favor for favor. So the first step is to pick a spirit that you want to work with, or ask the spirits and just say, hey, I would really like to work with someone. Is there anybody out there that would like to work with me? And then asking themselves to reveal themselves in a dream to you. Ask themselves to reveal themselves as you're out shopping looking for a vessel, right? Just ask them to reveal themselves to you. And you will be able to um, see very, very quickly there are many, many eager spirits, because as much as they help us, we help them as well. Okay. Another way that you can work with vessels is something like this, which is like a censer, which you can fill with sand, or you can use to burn incense with, something like that, fresh incense, or you can use it to burn, or a cauldron. A cauldron is also very, very popular. I have one somewhere right here. There's my cauldron. Okay. But vessels and statues are the easiest way to kind of get into it. So once you have this established, what do we do for them? Good question. So once you have this established, you're going to find that is very true, Zechariah. That is very, very true. So yes, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. So what do we do for them? So what we do is first is we establish a space that they occupy. This becomes their space. You want to think about it like you're courting the spirit, right? It's like courting a new love interest. You're not going to be, trying to come on too strong, right? So you want to create a space and just invite them in. An example of that would be working with fairies and creating a fairy door, or creating a fairy garden outside. That's a really great way to work with the fairies. And fairies, when you have a plethora of fairies on your land will grow, your gardens will grow huge. You'll find that your land will be protected because the trooping fairies will, walk around and make sure that things are okay. That's one way that I work with fairy energy, is I have lots of plants, I have gardens, I have lots of fairy statues and places specifically for fairies to come. And so once you have dedicated that space, then you must tend that space. So tending that space is meaning you're keeping that space clean, free of clutter. You're going to that space and offering your own psychic energy, sitting there meditating on the meaning of that spirit, or say dedicating a tarot card deck or an oracle card deck to that spirit. I mean, there's so many oracle card decks out there now that are dedicated for certain spirits. Like there's dragon decks and unicorn decks and fairy decks, and there's so many different types of decks out there that you could dedicate as your intercessory between communicating with them, right? Pulling a card and getting your daily advice or information from them, or just simply meditating and saying, thank you for this. I'm thankful for everything that you do, that sort of thing. Now, when you do start to feel confident that you do see this spirit starting to manifest in your life, ways that you will find that they are with you is things will start getting easier. You'll start having better energy. People with bad intentions will stop coming around as much. You will see that events and things will be canceled, and you'll later find out that it was meant to be that way. You'll find out that, maybe the highway that you take every day is closed, but for whatever reason, it's because maybe there was an accident there. And even though it took you 15 minutes longer, you didn't have to have the trauma of an accident or witnessing an accident. Okay. You will find that things in your life start to align, and that things are naturally easier, and that things just sort of bloom. You will have like a bloom on your life, right? Things will feel more vivid, more colorful, because you have basically this, you're tapped into this overwhelming psychic energy that kind of becomes a well for you to manifest from. A well, think about like a wishing well. It becomes a wishing well, or it becomes sort of like this genie lamp that you kind of rub, right? And so it becomes this pool of energy that you can manifest from and receive protection from, and things like that. So when you're ready to start asking for favors, or start asking for boons or gifts and things like that, or you're in an emergency and you need some sort of divine intercession, then you're going to do what is called feeding your altar. And this is, again, like the next step in courting a spirit. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to research what that spirit likes. Every spirit has a little bit of a different taste, right? For example, Saint Expedite really, really, really loves pound cake and flowers and copper pennies. But say another spirit might prefer something different, right? So there are different flowers, there are different herbs, there are different pieces of incense. For example, if you were going to work with Jesus, you might work with frankincense and myrrh, or you might work with the olive leaf or something like the olive branch or something like that. Okay, olive oil, that might be a big part of it. So you kind of want to look into the lore of whatever collective being that you're working with. And if you're working with a personal spirit, well, then certainly you can ask them what they prefer and have that be revealed to you, or you can meditate and get those answers, to yourself. And that's kind of what I'm doing with my Melusine over here. This is kind of new for me, creating my own thought form spirit, right? So feeding is where you're placing gifts onto the altar, where you're placing offerings on sacrifices. So in witchcraft, you'll hear there's always a sacrifice to magic, and that is true, right? We're not sacrificing things and people anymore and animals and stuff like that. We don't do, well, some of us don't do that anymore. Some of us, I guess, still do that, right? Which is, that's that tradition, right? So we can't really judge it. But a lot of us are like utilizing our psychic energy as gifts and offerings. You know what I'm saying? Instead of that, or offering up limiting beliefs, because it's like alchemy, changing one thing to another. In order to do that, it must give up shape and form to become something else. And so when we are offering up things like, say, alcohol or a shot of whiskey or some bourbon or some vodka or a glass of water or some fresh flowers or some fresh home baked cookies. Think about Santa Claus. Why do we leave the milk and cookies? That is an offering to get back presents, is it not? Right? So, it's one of those things where you have to kind of figure out, what is your spirit like? What are the things that really get them comfortable and happy? For example, Saint Expedite is very vain. He loves to be told he's handsome. So finding the little tricks that you can in order to create a very welcoming environment for your spirit, and then going to offer them feedings, which is either you're offering them your own psychic energy, like Marissa will be talking about, like maybe Marissa or Kirsten could be talking about leaving hair or leaving skin or nail clippings. These can be left as offerings, okay? But also, fresh fruit, flowers, home cooked meals, anything that you have an emotional attachment to, or anything that also has life to it, makes a great offering. And basically, yes, Mary's like, yeah, it's a bribe. It basically is a bribe. Angela says, you are meditating on an energy to be resonant and then can harness or create from a larger pool of energy to bring about its natural manifestation? Yes, absolutely. Or are you saying fairy energy is specific personality? It is both, because what you can find is that you have fairy, like say for example, fairy, you have collective fairy energy, and then you might have personal fairy energy. So you might have a collective energy altar dedicated to the fairies and receiving, general boons, but then you might have your own personal little fairy, is your house gnome or house guardian, that is in charge of giving specific duties, which is a more advanced way to kind of do it, which is more like creating thought forms, where you're creating your own spiritual guides in order to carry out a duty or a function. So for example, putting gnomes in your garden would be working with, say, a personal fairy to protect your lawn or protect your house. Putting a gargoyle on your front door or on your front porch would be another example of inviting a personal gargoyle protective spirit in onto your property. Absolutely. Totally vain. I'm convinced that Carly Simon wrote that song about him. An exchange of energy. Bingo. It's a gift for a gift. Yes, you can create that specific fairy. You can ask for the fairies to come in, or you can create your own fairy. Absolutely. If you create something, you put your energy into it, like artwork. Yes, absolutely. And you can do things like, again, have a statue. You could create a puppet out of cloth and make a little doll baby. You could put it in a vessel like this, in a jar. You could put it in something meaningful that relates to the type of spirit that you are creating, or you're connecting to pre-existing creature. Both. You can do both at the same time. I don't see it as a bribe so much as a relationship. And that's really the healthy way to look at it, as Kirsten says, because it's like, again, it's courting. If you're only calling someone for, Netflix and chill, then eventually what is the long-term relationship of this, right? So there are certain spirits that you might conjure in order to get something done quickly who don't require a lot of ongoing maintenance, like say an expedite. But you might have more fussy um, spirits like the Loa, or gods and goddesses, or ascended masters or saints that might be a little bit more fussy and require a little bit more of an ongoing relationship with them, where you're constantly burning candles, or you're constantly burning incense, or you have a daily meditation practice that you work with them. And so spirits can be very demanding. And Zechariah was talking earlier about, what are the warnings with that? And absolutely, you definitely want to, that's why it's so important to read the folklore about what spirit that you want to work with, because you need to know how demanding is this spirit, to what extent is this spirit, what is the spirit going to require? Now, if we're talking about angels and demons, angels are very easy to work with. They're very eager to work with. They don't care if you have ongoing vigils. They're just there whenever you need them. They're very friendly, very, very benevolent, always here to help. Whereas demons are, they want something in return back, right? They're probably going to want you to make a pact with them. They're very vain. They're very egotistical. Angels have no ego, right? So they don't care whether you worship them or not. However, demons are very egotistical. They love being worshipped. They may require a more ongoing relationship with them. They may require bigger and more intense sacrifices, that sort of thing. It all depends on what your angle is. What is it that you are trying to accomplish, right? Everybody has their own kind of agenda. I've never been told I can create a fairy before. Absolutely. Absolutely. You should absolutely try to create your own fairy. It's best to establish a long-term relationship with them, and they will work with you at the same level. Absolutely. And so it doesn't become this thing of like, oh, I need help. I need help. I need help. And then, they're like, who cares? Maybe ask the angels for that. Maybe don't ask don't ask the fairies, because the fairies also require lots of bribes. For example, fairies love alcohol. They love fermented fruit. They love nuts. They love furs. They love things like bells and chimes and shiny golden sparkly things, stuff like that. I cannot tell you how much pomegranate production kicked up after I added a fairy door. That is amazing. That's amazing, Renee. I can tell you something, that my garden this year is just blooming, blooming, blooming. What about focusing on my relationship with my higher self as a spirit? So, Diana, that is something that I think everybody should have connect with their extended version of themselves. Now, the way that I personally like to do that is to do like visualization techniques on that. Say, for example, imagining my perfect day, or imagining my most perfect ultra spiritual day, or imagining what I might look like if I was, the highest version of myself, or imagining what I might say if I was the most highest version of myself, or the next level version of myself, not even just the highest, but just the next version of where I need to go and who I need to be, right? But using that same, like, either drawing yourself on paper, or I have, oh, where is it? Do I have it in here? I'm not sure if I have it in here, but I have this poster, and I saw her, and it's this artwork of this beautiful, like, fairy goddess with rainbow hair, and she's just beautiful. And that I dedicated to myself as my higher self. And so, when I look at that print of her and I meditate on that print, I try to step into that energy, right? And kind of step into that energy and close the gap between who I am now and what that energy represents and how can I embody that more, right? So, and that would be a beautiful self-love practice, Diana. What a feminine creation-centered seed fruit, huh? Uh-huh. I have some dried pomegranates over there that I use all the time. I have one I use as a rattle. Okay, let me just, since we're at an hour in, let me just make sure. Oh, I wanted to talk about an avatar really quickly. So my idea of an avatar, and this is like the highest level at which you can conjure spirits and work with spirits, is where you allow your body to become the vessel. Okay. And this is what we call spirit possession, spirit mediumship. And so there are certain people that have been chosen to be avatars of specific spirits. And basically, what it is they allow themselves to go into a trance state, to be possessed by that spirit, and to allow that spirit to work through them. Some really interesting ways that you can look at that is to look at, I believe it's in Thailand. There are spirit mediums that have like extended spirits come through them, and they basically do galleries where they live. It's like their service. It's like their job. They are professional spirit mediums, and they invite people to come over. And you get this little ticket, this little piece of paper, and you write on it what you want. So I want to get married, or I want to buy a house, or I want my mother to feel well, or my father just passed away and I want his spirit to go to heaven, type of thing. So the spirit medium will go. I believe this is in Thailand, where they will allow the spirit to possess them, and a spirit will come through, and they will take on totally different mannerisms. They will become that spirit, right? And say, for example, I was watching one where she had a war general, a very honored war general come through, and all of a sudden she stood at attention. She started smoking a cigarette, and she started talking like a man and things like that. And you could see like this whole her, it was not her anymore. It was this general working through her. And what he will do is he will go around, and if he picks you and picks your paper, then your wish will come true. Okay. But also we can also think of avatars in the sense of being like priestesses or priests or devotees of certain spirits, right? Or even in like hoodoo or Lawa, or or Yoruba, being chosen by a certain spirit that you work through that certain spirit, or even in voodoo, right? Where you are initiated under a certain spirit deity, and then you become a vessel for that spirit to work itself. Very interesting, right? That is the more advanced way, but that is definitely a way that you can work with spirits. I attended a trance mediumship demonstration in the UK 2 weeks ago. That is amazing. Hi, Melina. Good to see you. Okay, so we've talked about tithing. We've talked about setting up your altar, making sure it's clean, offerings, going into the folklore about what your spirit likes. Advanced spirit conjuration. We talked about possession techniques. So things to be aware of. Really quickly, we'll touch on this, and then I will give you guys your guys' free gift here. So things to be aware of is hitchhikers and pacts. All right. So hitchhikers are basically spirits that can come in on the backs of other spirits, right? And they are basically spirits that are looking for vulnerable people, vulnerable energies to infiltrate. We mostly see this with like demonic type of energy, all right? But it's not just demonic. There are also mischievous fairies, there's mischievous land spirits out there. There are all sorts of reasons. You could also have a spirit working against your family for some karma that your family had in or some karma that even you have had in a past life. So when you are going to be working with spirits and inviting spirits, especially into your home, it's super important to practice psychic self-defense and psychic protection. You cannot really do conjure without those things because you will get little parasites that kind of come through, and they can be very harmless. They can be, as simple as like harmless poltergeist activity, or it can be something more insidious like demonic activity that wants to infiltrate someone possibly in the house that has low vibe energy or is maybe dealing with something like addiction or depression or anxiety or something like that, looking for someone that they can take advantage of and work through. Okay, even if it's not your intention. So if you're going to be conjuring, it is so important that you have some sort of protection protocol. You can charge other thought forms, you can create thought forms and spirits, like, for example, setting gargoyles outside your house. I have a bunch of gargoyles. I have a bunch of foo dogs on my property. I also have the fairy garden, which serves as a level of protection. So if you are going to be working with some of these more, demanding type of spirits that require pacts or require some of these more darker sorts of sacrifices, then you're going to want to amp up your protection. And that would be a whole other class that I can do for you guys if you want, all about psychic protection. But one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, is simply putting salt around the perimeter, setting the intention that nothing with low vibe intentions, nothing with evil intentions will come through, nothing will be affected. Smoke cleansing a lot. I use a lot of Palo Santo that I purchase from indigenous people. Burning sage that you purchase from indigenous people or that you grow in your own yard would be good. Sweetgrass is also a really good one to burn. Frankincense and myrrh, great for protection. Dragon's blood is also a doozy that will kick anything out. If you have anything, just burn a whole bunch of dragon's blood. Now, if you do start seeing some weird things happen, what you're going to want to do is, what I do personally is I take towels or cloths and I cover all of the mirrors and I open up all the windows and then I will smoke cleanse. And as I'm smoke cleansing, I'm psychically and clairvoyantly visualizing all the negative entities are leaving this space. They are not welcome here. I am not creating a hospitable environment for negativity or, ickies, right? Icky spirits. So there's always a way to cleanse. Just know that, working with spirits, you're not always going to be, and some spirits might come to you and they may not be spirits that you even want to work with either. Like, for example, I had Baron Samedi come to me in a dream and asked to work with me. And I was like, thank you, but I'm good, because, that's the type of spirit that's going to ask for, things in return and things like that. So there's a whole world to spirit conjure, and I hope today has really opened your eyes to the different types of ways that you can work with conjure and spirits. And I would love to know, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor now for questions or comments. Sounds pretty scary. I'm raising my grandchildren, so I'm not feeling confident about it. So then I would just honestly work with angels, Sonia. Angels, saints, extended masters, like Buddha is very safe. Angels are very, very safe. Saints are very safe. Fairies are very safe. So just work with the safe ones, Okay, I'm just getting the link from my free gift. Give me just 1 second here. And if you have any questions or any comments, or if you are also interested in telling me what's the coolest thing you learned about today, I'm very interested in what was the most interesting thing that you learned from this? Okay, so my free gift is, it's a quiz, okay? And so what it is if you are interested in either setting up a side business or going full time into your psychic abilities, say you want to become a tarot reader, a professional psychic, or you want to become a professional spiritual life coach, I have a free gift for you. First of all, you get a PDF that has 11 signs that you are not living your divine life purpose. So there's going to be like things that excuse me, things that are going kind of wrong in your life, that may be going kind of wrong, or all these old patterns that you kind of find yourself in, that that if you were truly living your divine life purpose, that you would not be doing. Like one of them would be like gossiping, or things like that. And then from there, there's a quiz. And so the quiz helps you identify, like, what are your real true values, right? And so when you take the quiz, you'll answer, it's like a 5-question quiz, very simple. At the end, you're going to get a result. And this result can be, you can be either one of the archetypes or spirits that I have created a thought form for you guys to work with in order to manifest your divine life purpose, right? And there are the 4 archetypes. There is the healer, the warrior, the shaman, the mystic. So you can be one of those, or you can be a combination of those. And once you identify that, then there are video trainings on each of those individual archetypes that you can work within. And it talks about, like, what is your path to 6-figure success? How are you going to make $100,000, right? Your first $100,000. And so based on whatever archetype combination that you have, then you're going to have a little bit of a different path. Some people, like healers, for example, are going to be teaching people how to heal themselves and creating their own healing program. People who are warriors are going to be helping people with their boundaries and helping people get very clear on putting themselves first. People who are shamans are going to be working as a spirit medium, going to be helping people on the astral realm. People that are mystics are going to be helping people learn through magic and learn through, like, things like divination and the magical arts. And all of those different archetypes have different ways that they're going to make their money, right? Some people are going to be better for one-on-one coaching. Some people are going to be better coming up with their own membership site, or some people are going to be better coming up with selling courses or something like that. So based on your answers, you will find out for yourself. And, what is your path? What is your path to 6-figure and 7-figure success as a spiritual life coach? And then on top of that, you're going to get a bonus. I think it's got 10 videos in it right now. And it's a bonus course that teaches you what a spiritual life coach is, how is it different from being a psychic, what are some things that you can do right now to kind of make the shift into being a spiritual life coach. So it's basically like a 101 type of class on what does a spiritual life coach do? How can you work as a spiritual life coach, right? And then when you are ready, I have the mentorship program open. And it's just an advanced way to kind of look at it. There's 12 modules. You get weekly support with me in the group through homework feedback. You get office hours, and you get to graduate the program and potentially become a presenter in our summits with us. And it's just a lot of fun. Like I said, we've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now. And it's always amazing. Every time I come back and do these events with you guys, it is seriously like the highlight of my whole entire year, doing these summits and connecting with everybody. So you guys are so welcome. Okay, so lots of comments here. So let's see. Hitchhikers with Angela. Hitchhikers. That I can make okay, so interesting things, that I can make something for the spirit I am working with. Yeah, absolutely. To treat it like a courting, getting to know the spirit first. Rebecca, yes. Kirsten, that you can say no to a spirit that wants to work with you. Very helpful. Yes. Mary says, thank you. You're so welcome. What about, hi, Karina. What about working with Medusa? Absolutely. Medusa is such a great spirit to work with in terms of protection, but also justice, like, for women and feminine identifying people. Medusa is such a fierce spirit to work with, and is great, especially for revenge. You guys are so welcome. Yes, I'm so glad you guys enjoyed it. Marissa says, loved your story about working with Snake and also the fairies. Your step-by-step process of building the relationship was especially clear and helpful. Yes, thank you. Jared says, I'm going to consider this program this year. I appreciate what you do and love your work. Thank you so much. Okay, so please make sure tomorrow we have a workshop every day this week. So make sure you view the pinned area, the featured area. It has the full outline of who's talking. Marissa is going to be presenting. Susie's going to be presenting. Kirsten's going to be presenting. Amanda, and Sylvie. So we have quite a few, and they're going to be on topics ranging from herbal magic, protection, working with the Norse and Satyr, working with oh gosh, sacred geometry and water and things like that. Lots of magical workshops coming up this week. So make sure you grab your free gift, guys, and make sure you read the description box of this video where you can connect with me. There's a link to join my group. You can join my academy, get a free account, lots of free courses out there. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. My YouTube, again, has videos on how to work with serpent spirits, fairy spirits, saint expedite. I also have some beginning videos on mediumships and psychic abilities. There's just so much more in there waiting for you guys to just devour and discover it. So thank you so much. I hope you all have an amazing week. I will see everybody else for the workshops. Happy Summer of Magic. Bye.